Thank you. Very good to be here. My name is Marie Steenberger. I am trained in the science of nutrition, but I don't think nutrition is the answer to our health problems. We might know all there is to know about protein, carbs, and fat, but we still don't eat healthier, right? I don't believe we will feel better when we eat healthier. I believe we eat healthier when we feel better. My mom was a music teacher at high school. I know she loved working with the students. She engaged in bands and arranged concerts for the whole school. She always spoke very passionate about her work, and I never doubted that she was very loved by her students. I remember as a child, she would come home from work. Me and my sister would jump at her, wanting to play and talk. Of course. After hugging and kisses, she would turn and meditate for half an hour. Then she would be ready and present with us for the rest of the day. That presence was very special. When I was 25 years old, her presence changed. It slowly disappeared into absence. We would talk, but she would not really be there, as if she was thinking of something else. She was less happy, and slowly we saw her fall into a depression. As time went by, she lost herself more and more. At one point, I started to find empty bottles of alcohol behind pots and pans in the kitchen. One day I came home and I found her lying on the bathroom floor with her eyes closed. For a moment, I thought she was dead. She had passed out and was too drunk to stand up. So I carried her up the stairs to the first floor and put her to bed. I was afraid, and I was very confused, and I was angry. I thought alcohol was the problem, and I wanted her to stop drinking. So I tried to help her the best way that I knew. I encouraged her to get help. I listened to her thoughts, and I even yelled at her to make her understand what she was doing. She got help. She was hospitalized and had several electric shocks. But it didn't help. She was still suffering, and there was nothing I could do about it. I felt powerless. I felt alone, and I felt very ashamed. I didn't know where to turn to get help. I didn't know how to cope with my pain, so I shut her out of my life. The day I told her that, I felt terrible. I don't want to see you. And she replied, for how long? And I said, I don't know. I felt selfish. I knew I was making her even more sad. After a year apart, I began to see her again. Half a year later, she died of a heart attack. Looking back, I wish we had shared that year. I wish I had gotten help to deal with my sorrow, my emotions of sorrow and shame, instead of closing down and cutting her off. I wish I had turned and talked to my emotions instead of cutting off the connection. I know today that we both tried to cope with our pain in two different ways. My mom drank. She used alcohol to drown her depression. I withdrew to cope with my pain. It was two rational strategies for coping, but without facing the emotional issues, and it didn't help. My mom drank. I withdrew. Other people eat when life gets tough. I know because I work with emotional eaters and food addiction every day. Food addiction is one of the hardest addictions you can have. I mean, if you're an alcoholic, you can stop going to bars and places with alcohol. You can't do that with food. Food is everywhere. You have to eat it several times a day, every day. It is like being an alcoholic, and you're forced to take a sip of whiskey 3 times a day and just put the bottle back in the cabinet. That is how it feels to suffer from a food addiction. You try to battle your addiction while taking your drug. It takes a huge amount of emotional work to set yourself free. When I graduated from my study of human nutrition, I tried to make people healthier and slimmer by telling them what to eat. And it didn't help, at least not for long. I felt I was running my head against the wall. Something just didn't fit. It would go something like this, and maybe not, but maybe some of you will recognize this. This woman comes to me. She's very motivated for change. Maybe she's diagnosed with diabetes or she has a bad knee because of an overweight. So I give her nutrition advice and I create a diet plan for her. She sticks to the diet plan. She's very disciplined and she loses weight. Boom. She is happy and I am happy. And then, boom, something happens. She strays from the diet. She starts eating secretly in the car when no one is looking. She eats 3 portions of pasta instead of 1, and that 1 piece of chocolate that she promised herself as a reward suddenly turns into the whole package. Now you know what I mean? Okay, I do certainly. When she strays, she feels sad, and then she feels bad about herself, and then she starts to eat even more, and her weight comes back up. I concluded that there was simply something missing. A tool I didn't get. There was something I just didn't see. I got more and more committed to finding the missing link between knowledge and action, and I would ask myself, why doesn't knowledge of health turn into healthy actions? And why doesn't a high motivation for change make a difference? I stopped studying more nutrition and turned my focus towards real people and their sabotaging behaviors. What I learned made me challenge a belief from my study that humans are rational and knowledge leads to change. After working with thousands of people, I know today that belief is wrong. Since the 70s, Denmark has yelled and screamed the nutrition recommendations, and it hasn't worked. I mean, if it worked, we would all be healthy and fit, right? Yet every second grown-up in Denmark and every 5th child is overweight. We all know we should exercise more, but we don't do it enough. We all know that drinking large amount of soft drinks is bad for us, but many of us do it anyway. We all know that we should eat more vegetables, but we don't, right? We simply don't act according to what we know. Nutrition is not rocket science. It is actually very simple. It turns out that people are not just rational thinking human beings. We are emotional human beings. Emotions are always intertwined with the way that we eat. Eating is a response to feeling hungry and many other feelings. Eating is much more than getting necessary nutrients for your body. Eating can nurture your soul. When you feel hungry, food can make you full. Sure, we know that. We all know that. But when you feel unhappy, food can make you happy. When you feel sad, food can comfort you. When you feel tired, food can give you energy. And when you feel lonely, Food is connection and love. And food is simply enjoyment with good friends on a Saturday night. Emotional eating is neither good nor bad. It just is. It's a fact of life. We all do it because we are humans. Yet, when emotional eating becomes a food addiction, we are not free to choose the outcome anymore. And you know you're addicted to food when you know the food is not good for you, but you eat it anyway. It feels great for a moment, and then you start to feeling bad about yourself. And then you eat to cope with feeling bad, and then you eat even more, and then you feel even more bad. It is a vicious cycle. Let me tell you about Sarah, a girl I once knew. Sarah was only 7 years old and already in treatment for obesity. Sitting in the consultation room with her parents on one side and the doctor on the other side, Sarah listened to her parents and the doctor discussing her size and the treatment of her weight. Sarah was not a part of the discussion. She just felt smaller and smaller and more wrong. No one asked Sarah how she felt. She was just sitting there as a no person, listening to how wrong her body was, how wrong she was. Do you think she went home eager to lose weight and eat healthy? Do you think she succeeded? More likely, she went home and she went to her room. Here she found comfort in all the food she could get her hands on, alone, when no one was looking. But she felt bad because it was wrong. She was wrong, and it stuck. Eating became Sarah's way to cope with feeling wrong. And guess what? More overweight became the result. We are all this little girl, Sarah. But we are also her parents and the doctor. We are somehow telling ourselves that we are wrong and we are not listening to our emotions. We are ignoring our inner child. We believe that changing our bodies and changing our diet will make us happy. Then we sign up for different kind of food tribes to tell us not to eat carbs or fat and sugar. And we end up not knowing who we really are or what we really feel. And that leaves us in pain because we abandon ourselves in favor of other experts. Instead, let us change the story. What would happen if Sarah's parent had turned and talked to Sarah? What would happen if the doctor had listened to Sarah's emotions? What if the discussion has involved feelings and not just facts? What would happen if you turn and listen to your emotions tonight? The more I work with people, the more it becomes clear to me that the missing link between knowledge and action is our emotions. If we want sustainable health, we need to turn and talk to our emotions. We need to embrace all of who we are with love, compassion, and kindness. We need to feel free to express our emotions, our flaws, our sorrow, even our shame, but also our happiness, our light, and our brightness, instead of numbing out with food or other addictions, instead of drowning our emotions, instead of withdrawing from what is hard. And sometimes we need help with that, like I needed help to deal with my mom's depression. I believe that listening to ourselves with compassion is the only nutrition that will make us healthier, because when we nurture our souls, we feel better, and then we eat healthier. So, embrace your inner child. Please don't drown your emotions. Don't withdraw from what is hard. Try not to ignore yourself. Turn the talk to your emotions. Thank you.